Imagine stepping back to 1396. You're standing inside Westminster Abbey. It's cold, grand. You can see your breath. Servants are rushing around preparing for this really unusual royal wedding.
Quite unlike anything England had seen before.
Exactly. Then the great oak doors swing open. And there's King Richard II, 29 years old, looking every bit the king. But beside him is this tiny child.
Barely reaching his elbow.
Right. Her little hand just swallowed up in his glove. She's maybe 6, 7 years old, wearing this incredibly elaborate gown, pearls. This is Isabella of Valois, Princess of France, and now, suddenly, Queen of England.
A staggering image, really.
It is. So today, we're doing a deep dive into Isabella's truly extraordinary life. It's a story that's ultimately tragic, but also fascinating.
Well, look at how she became this human chess piece in medieval diplomacy.
Navigating just intense political intrigue, profound personal loss, but also showing this unexpected resilience that really shaped her story.
And there are some surprising facts, I think, and real insights into a queen who's often forgotten, but who definitely left her mark.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Isabella was born November 9th, 1389, at the Louvre Palace in Paris, no less.
Opulence from day one. She was the eldest daughter of King Charles VI of France.
Who is, unfortunately, better known as Charles the Mad. I mean, can you even picture that childhood? The instability?
It's hard to fathom. One day, her father is a capable ruler, maybe showering her with gifts. The next, he could be convinced he's made of glass, or refusing to bathe, screaming about assassins.
It's terrifying for a young child.
Absolutely. And her mother, Isabella of Bavaria, was a very different figure. Formidable, politically ambitious. She saw her children as, well, assets, valuable assets for alliances.
So from the start, Isabella's personal value was tied to French political gain.
Precisely. A pattern that would, unfortunately, define much of her life. And you have to remember the backdrop here.
The 100 Years' War.
Right. Almost 60 years of brutal conflict between England and France. It had devastated both sides, drained their treasuries. People were just wary of it.
So by the 1390s, there were whispers of peace. But they needed something solid.
More than just words on paper. They needed, unbreakable bonds, and that's where 6-year-old Isabella enters the picture.
Now, over in England, King Richard II was in a tough spot. His first wife, Anne of Bohemia, whom he genuinely loved, had died in 1394.
Which was devastating for him personally, but also politically dangerous. He had no heir.
A huge problem for a medieval king. His advisors must have been pushing him to remarry.
Oh, definitely. But Richard was resistant. His marriage to Anne was apparently a real love match, quite rare for royals then. He felt like remarrying would be sort of a betrayal.
The duty called, right? The realm needed stability.
Exactly. Duty ultimately outweighed his personal feelings.
So in 1395, French ambassadors arrived with this. Well, it seems an audacious proposal.
Extremely audacious. Isabella, just 6 years old, as a bride for King Richard.
And the deal came with sweeteners. A huge dowry, wasn't it?
Astronomical. 800,000 francs. Which, as you said, England desperately needed for its empty treasury.
And perhaps even more importantly,
a 28-year truce. Long enough, they hoped, for a whole generation to grow up without war.
Now, how did they spin her age? Surely that was a sticking point.
Well, interestingly, the French presented it as an advantage, a symbol of a new beginning, you see, untouched by all the past hatred.
A clean slate.
Exactly. The plan was she'd be raised in England, learn the customs, become loyal to England.
You'd think Richard's reaction would be purely political. Did anyone notice anything else when he saw her portrait?
That's a fascinating detail. While his council debated logistics, some chronicles mention his expression softening when he saw her miniature.
Really?
Yes. Whispers started that maybe the childless king saw more than just an alliance, maybe an opportunity to be a father figure to nurture this young girl.
A human dimension you don't always expect.
It adds a layer, doesn't it? Of course, the negotiations were still intense, took months.
They had to get the details right. What protections were put in place for her?
Crucially, the treaty stated the marriage would not be consummated until she reached physical maturity. That was explicit.
Okay, that's important.
And she could keep her French servants, her ladies-in-waiting, practice French customs.
Meanwhile, Isabella herself?
Completely unaware. Playing with Gauls, probably. The idea of marrying a king was like a fairy tale, even as they taught her English phrases and made her royal clothes.
Such innocence caught up in massive political games.
The wedding itself was complex, a two-part event.
Right. The first one in Calais, which was English territory then, October 31st, 1396. She was just 7.
That one was more intimate, mostly negotiators. Apparently, Richard knelt down to her level to exchange rings and gently lifted her chin when she looked scared.
A small kindness, perhaps?
Perhaps. Then a year later, the big show in Westminster Abbey, the coronation.
That must have been a spectacle.
Oh, designed to be. A display of power, legitimacy. Isabella processed through London's special small crown, litter decked out with English roses and French fleur-de-lis, crowds cheering, a 3-day feast.
A powerful symbol of hope for peace.
Exactly. More than just a wedding, it was a public statement.
So, what was life actually like for this 7-year-old queen at the English court? Was it just playing princess?
Not quite. It was a mix of privilege and pretty rigorous education. She had her own apartments at Westminster Palace, a mix of French and English staff.
Dizzy days.
Packed. Lessons in languages, courtly skills, complex English etiquette, even the right accent. Richard insisted on a thorough education, actually.
Which was quite forward-thinking for the time, especially for a girl.
It was, and he took a real paternal interest, visited her regularly, brought gifts, exotic birds, books, musical instruments. He seemed to genuinely enjoy her company.
And she started looking forward to his visits.
Sources suggest she did. He became a sort of stable figure in her life.
Did she make any friends her own age? That must have been lonely.
She did find a key friendship with Margaret Holland. She was the daughter of Richard's half-brother, just 2 years older than Isabella.
Yeah, someone closer to her level.
And apparently quite worldly for her age. Margaret taught Isabella English children's games, but also, crucially...
Started explaining the politics.
Yes, the tricky undercurrents. Richard's conflicts with his nobles, his unpopular favorites, the perception that this peace with France showed weakness.
Wow. So Margaret was giving her a crash course in real politics.
Pretty much. Isabella started watching court interactions with, as one chronicle says, new eyes, realizing her life was tied to bigger, more dangerous things.
Richard also focused on her symbolic role in her education, right?
Yeah.
With maps and history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about being accomplished. Her tutor, Master William, used maps to show the English Channel, calling it both a bridge and a barrier.
And the lesson.
The lesson Isabella took, even at 8, was that she was the hope that it could finally just be a bridge. Her marriage was meant to achieve that, a heavy burden for a child.
A living symbol of peace. But symbols can be fragile, especially in medieval politics.
Tragically so. By early 1399, the atmosphere at court shifted again.
How did Isabella notice?
Conversation stopping when she entered a room, worried looks exchanged between her ladies. Richard became preoccupied, visited less often. She apparently worried she'd displeased him.
But the real reason was much bigger.
Much bigger. Richard was facing the crisis of his reign. His cousin, Henry Bolingbroke, the one he'd exiled,
He came back.
with an army, claiming he just wanted his inheritance back, but clearly aiming for more, and dissatisfied nobles flocked to him. The stability around Isabella just crumbled.
How did she realize the full danger? She was only 9.
It hit home when she woke up one day and some of her English ladies were just gone. Then she saw armed men in the courtyard wearing unfamiliar colors.
That must have been terrifying.
Then Margaret Holland burst in, told her to pack, whispered they were going to the Tower.
Which Isabella knew wasn't just a palace.
Palace and prison. The journey through London this time wasn't ceremonial, it was threatening. At the Tower, her rooms were comfortable, but clearly meant to hold her. Barred windows, guards. Her freedom was gone.
Just like that. A harsh lesson.
Very harsh. Then Richard visited her.
How did he seem?
Shockingly changed. The confident king was gone. Rumpled clothes, unkempt hair, a wild look in his eyes that reminded her uncomfortably of her father's bad episodes. He'd aged years.
What did he say?
He actually knelt before her, explained the difficult circumstances that Henry was questioning his right to rule.
How did Isabella react?
Remarkably composed for a 9-year-old. She asked him straight out, "Are you still king?"
Wow. Direct.
Richard apparently gave a bitter smile, said, "For now," but admitted he wasn't sure he could protect her. He spoke to her almost like an equal.
Explaining the politics.
Explaining Henry's claim, the threat to the peace with France. It was her first really brutal lesson. Her personal safety was secondary to her value as a diplomatic asset.
A heavy burden. Weeks later, she met the man responsible for this turmoil.
Henry Bolingbroke, now styling himself Henry IV. He met Isabella, used her royal title formally, but referred to Richard only as Richard of Bordeaux, claiming he had abdicated.
A euphemism she likely understood.
Almost certainly. And she asked the most important question, "What becomes of me?"
And Henry's answer.
Chillingly vague. That depends on many factors. Her fate was completely uncertain.
So she was basically a political prisoner.
Effectively, yes. Confined, having to navigate this new court where opinions on her future were divided. Some wanted her sent back to France immediately. Others wanted to keep her as leverage.
How did she cope?
Her French ladies, especially Madame Ducy, were crucial. They coached her. You are still Queen of England. You have value, and where there is value, there is hope. She clung to that, maintaining dignity, being unfailingly polite. Survival mode.
But then came worse news.
Rumors first, then confirmation. Richard was dead at Pontefract Castle, likely murdered.
How did that hit Isabella? She was still just a child, but Richard had been kind to her.
It hit hard. He'd been a father figure, her main connection to her life in England. His death severed that.
And it must have had terrifying implications for her own safety.
Absolutely. If Henry would kill a king, what would stop him dealing with an inconvenient French princess? The threat felt very real.
So Henry made her an offer.
More like an ultimatum. Early 1400, she's 10. She could go back to France, but only if she publicly acknowledged Henry as the rightful king and renounced her status as Richard's widow.
A diplomatic trap.
Clearly. Designed to legitimize his usurpation using her status.
She must have agonized over that. Betray Richard's memory or stay imprisoned.
A terrible choice. But in the end, it was taken out of her hands. Her father, Charles VI, had a lucid period.
And he demanded her back.
Immediately, threatening to renew the war if she wasn't released. Henry's government, facing potential conflict, finally agreed.
So she went home. Summer 1401. But was it really home anymore?
That's the sad irony. She left England, the only home she'd really known for 5 years, but France felt foreign now. She spoke French with a slight English accent, preferred English clothes, had to relearn French court etiquette. She was caught between two worlds.
And her parents?
Complicated. Her father didn't recognize her during one of his episodes. Her mother, Isabel, was welcoming but calculating. She saw Isabella's potential diplomatic value, her intelligence.
Did they press her for information about England?
Oh, yes. But Isabella was careful. Shared generalities, avoided anything that could be used militarily. She was already navigating treacherous waters, even within her own family.
Having been through one political marriage disaster, she must have had strong feelings about any future marriage.
Definitely. She was no longer a naive child. She was determined any future husband would be a partner, based on respect, not just another political deal.
But the French court itself was dangerous, wasn't it? With the rival factions.
Very. Anti-English feeling was high. Her father's instability fueled the rivalry between the Orleans and Burgundy factions, powerful dukes vying for control. Isabella, with her English connections, had to tread very carefully.
Did her past ever threaten to pull her back into conflict?
It nearly did. In 1402, Henry IV faced rebellions in England. Some French nobles wanted to invade, using Isabella as a figurehead, Richard's widow.
How did she react?
She was horrified. Having seen the instability in England, she didn't want war tearing it apart. She argued against invasion, citing casualties, England's defenses.
Taking a stand for peace, even if it was unpopular in some circles.
It earned her criticism from the war hawks, but moderates supported her. It showed her growing independence and moral compass.
Then, in 1403, another marriage proposal arrived.
Yes, from Charles, Duke of Orleans, her cousin. He was 29, the same age Richard had been. Isabella was almost 14.
What made this match appealing?
Several things. It kept her within the French royal family, aligned her with a very cultured court. Charles was a famous patron of arts and literature.
And, crucially,
Charles seemed to see her. He reportedly told her he wasn't marrying the former Queen of England, but Isabella of Valois, the remarkable young woman who survived. He valued her experience, her dignity.
that must have resonated deeply with her.
It seems it did. At 14, she found herself genuinely drawn to him. He was cultured, intelligent, and saw her as an individual.
She was making a choice.
For perhaps the first time regarding marriage. Their wedding was in June 1406 at Notre Dame in Paris, a huge contrast to her first.
How so?
It was a grand public spectacle, but felt joyful. Isabella, now 16, walked confidently. Charles looked genuinely happy. They looked at each other during the vows. It felt real.
A new beginning.
And for a while, it truly was. Those first years with Charles were likely the happiest of her life. She finally felt she belonged.
What was their life like at Blois?
Their court became a cultural hub. Charles was devoted and intellectual companion. Isabella thrived. She patronized artists, commissioned manuscripts, fostered discussions, drawing on her English experiences too.
She found her voice.
Absolutely. Charles valued her insights. She became a genuine partner in governance, not just a symbol.
Then came motherhood.
In 1407, their daughter Jeanne was born. Isabella was determined to be a present mother, unlike her own perhaps. She nursed Jane herself, promised her choices she never had. It deepened her bond with Charles.
But happiness in medieval times rarely lasted undisturbed, did it?
Sadly, no. The political tensions in France were escalating. Charles VI's illness created that power vacuum, and the Orleans-Burgundy rivalry was getting worse.
And then tragedy struck directly.
November 1407, Charles's father, Louis of Orleans, was brutally assassinated in Paris. Agents of the Duke of Burgundy were responsible.
Isabella's life turned upside down again.
Overnight, Charles became the Duke, a marked man thrust into the heart of a brewing civil war. Their cultured court turned into a fortress. Bodyguards, vigilance. Charles became consumed by the need for vengeance.
Did they have more children amidst this turmoil?
Yes, a son, also named Charles, was born in 1408. A male heir was politically important. Isabella ensured he got the best education, languages, history, diplomacy skills he'd need.
And another daughter.
Marguerite in 1409. Isabella was only 20, but the repeated pregnancies were taking a physical toll. She even prepared detailed instructions for her children's care, sensing her own fragility, perhaps.
While Charles was away campaigning, Isabella stepped up.
Remarkably so. She managed the family territories, handled logistics, diplomacy. Her letters show her as a capable leader. She also organized relief for war victims, earning a reputation for compassion.
But her health suffered after Marguerite's birth.
Severely. Complications nearly killed her. Her recovery was slow, incomplete. Doctors warned against more pregnancies, which must have impacted her relationship with Charles physically.
But their bond remained strong.
Apparently so. They found other ways to connect. Through shared interests, mutual respect, their partnership endured.
She even tried to leverage her past connections for peace, didn't she?
Yes, in 1410. Using her status as former Queen of England, she opened secret communication channels with Henry I's court, trying to persuade him not to intervene in the French Civil War.
Showing real political maturity, trying to protect both her old home and her new one.
It was sophisticated diplomacy, but her health was failing. Chronic respiratory problems, likely tuberculosis, plagued her through 1411-1412.
Yet she stayed involved.
Mentally sharp to the end. Oversaw her children's education, family affairs. She even played a key role in failed peace talks between the French factions in spring 1409, praised for her fairness.
Facing the end with courage.
Making provisions for her children, trying to secure Charles's position. Isabella of Valois died on September 13th, 1409. She was just 20 years old.
20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
An incredibly packed life. Her death must have been widely felt.
It was mourned across Europe. Charles of Orleans was devastated. He lost his wife, his confidant, his political partner. Her children, Charles and Jeanne, carried her values forward, playing significant roles later on.
And the political impact in France.
Her death removed a crucial moderating voice. The civil war between Orleans and Burgundy intensified, became even more bitter. The peace she embodied and worked for remained elusive.
Looking back, her story challenges our modern views, especially the child marriage aspect.
Yeah.
But it's more complex than that, isn't it?
Much more. She started as a passive political asset, a pawn, but she absolutely refused to remain one. She carved out her own space for action, for leadership, for moral choices.
She became an inspiration.
Yes, later generations of female rulers actually cited her example. She demonstrated resilience and agency even within severe constraints.
So perhaps the final thought for us, for you listening, is this. Isabella's life reminds us that history isn't just grand movements and battles.
It's about the individuals living through those times. Isabella chose not to be just a victim of her circumstances. She built a legacy, resilience, intelligence, finding purpose against the odds. Her short life reminds us that while we're products of our time, we too can strive to transcend limitations, seek love, seek security, find purpose, just as she did. A child queen who became so much more.